education. That's funny.
All right, y'all.
Hello.
We should be good to go.
It's been a while since we've been on YouTube.
I know it has been a while since we've been on YouTube. I hope y'all can hear us and see us all right. We had a very odd series of events today with Mighty Networks.
Mm-hmm.
So we did actually test again, but we're still getting that weird glitchy thing that's going on. For whatever reason, Mighty Networks is not liking to function. So,
Who's here? We can't see who's here, so you have to tell us.
Yeah, you will have to tell us. Have to write it in the comments.
Unless you're a voyeur.
That's true. In which case, there's no need to tell us.
Hi, Emil.
Hey, Emil.
Cool, looks good.
Okay,
Hi,
awesome.
Chelsea.
Good to hear. Good to hear.
Hi, Danny.
Hello, hello. Oh, yeah, it's
Hi,
been a
Ben.
while. Okay, good. Looking and sounding good. Well,
Perfect.
thank you. I'll try.
I chopped off all my hair, guys.
Yes, she did. I think it looks good.
Thanks, love. I know, I
Mhm.
like it.
Mhm.
It's good. It needed it. And the girl was so fucking timid. It's so annoying. I like an aggressive hair cutter that like knows exactly what's going to look good with the shape of my face. And she was like so nervous.
Mhm.
And she's like, "Are you sure you want to go that short?" I'm like, "Yes." Like, just do it. But then she had nothing to work off of, so she has to create the shape herself. So then she had to call her like manager over to like help get in there, and then she had to.
Oh, because she can't look at your last haircut.
No,
Normally, that's
she's
all they
looking at
do,
a
right?
picture. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
funny.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it requires some actual skill.
Yeah, and she has none. And it
I
was funny
see.
because she kept like pulling out like long strands, like really
Yeah, demonstrate on me.
really slow. She was doing a lot of this. And I was like, I said, well, you can ask. I was like, I'm happy to wait. You can ask someone for help, because it didn't make
Funny.
sense why she was so docile.
Mhm.
And then the guy in the like behind us, he like got in there, and he was like so like just tight with all his movements, and he like got it.
That's
And then he's like,
awesome.
I'm going to rewash you and re-shampoo you. He's like, we are having a Posh Spice moment, and I'm living for it. And I was like, oh, he gets me. I was like, yes.
Oh, well, good.
So it was awesome. So yeah, I'll be back to see Matt. I won't be back to see the girl with no name.
That's funny. You don't even know.
I don't know her name. I have no idea. She was so timid. Yeah.
That's
But yeah,
awesome.
they do. That made me realize that too. I was like, oh, you actually have to like, because they do go based off of your old haircuts.
Yeah, they just pull out and they look at all the cuts and they
Yep.
pull it back.
So she did my friend's hair great. That was no problem, because all she wanted was some like longer layers in the front and then cleaned up in the back. So that was easy. But I went from like shoulder length hair to an asymmetrical pixie. So she didn't know what
Yes,
to
you
do.
did. Yes, you did.
Oh,
That's all right.
thanks. It's, you know, what's funny is it's not short enough. There's still tweaks I want to make, and like bold. It's not bold enough. I want it more angled on this side, and I want this side trimmed shorter.
You're going to
just
like shave
tighter.
the side of your head.
Not shaved, but it was kind of getting to that point because I was getting annoyed with the girl, that I was like, oh, just fucking shave it.
Yeah.
But she's like, I could never go this short. The shortest I've gone is here. And she had like hair all the way down to here, but it was extensions. It wasn't even real hair.
Oh, funny.
Can't relate.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
Yeah, that's
It's
all
a
right.
story.
That's all right.
And I have the heart-shaped glasses on because they were going to be part of a bit, but I don't know if we're going to work them into something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. You may see a revival of those
Yeah.
glasses at some point.
I know. I'm just foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's like if I came to the live wearing like 10 rings. One day you'll see who I'm
This
gonna
will
be.
make sense.
I really did enjoy that Jonathan Light skit. Man, I would love for Mighty Networks to get their shit together, because then we would have some great ideas rolling. We would. You know, out of all the softwares, I still very much like having the community, that element,
for
and
sure.
you know, us being able to DM, and it's like our own little social network. But they are so buggy; it is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Did they say anything back?
Well, he asked me if my Google Chrome browser was updated, and then if
Those are questions you're asking me, not you.
yeah, well, you know, I just laid it out. I was like, it's not our computer, it's not our webcam, it's not our mics, it's not anything, because we can go live on YouTube very easily. So there's something wrong with the software. He's like, all right, I'll have the engineers look at it. And then I get on this morning and I go and make our a course we're taking week 2 video live. And then Angela messages me and she's like, hey, the videos, when I click on the video, it takes me to another group that I'm not a part of. And I was like, this makes no sense. I have no idea what's going on.
No.
So I was like, okay, I think I might know maybe what's happening. Let me fix it. And I go and re-upload it. And then now every single one of our videos in our entire community are down.
Wow.
I don't know why. I mean, there's no way what I did. I just re-uploaded a video.
Right.
But everything's down now. So I have no
Maybe
idea
it's the
happening.
cyber attacks happening early to Mighty Networks.
Yeah. Maybe Russia has hacked Mighty Networks. They want to take down independent communities. I think that's what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's smart.
That's definitely what it is. Imagine Biden comes on TV today. There's been a Russian cyber attack on Mighty Networks, a small independent business that helps local communities come together. You're like, oh my God, I was a victim to this. You're talking about me, Biden. You're talking about me.
I don't know if he could get the words out.
Today, you know the thing, the network, mighty, fantastic networks went down today by Russian, Ukrainian. I mean, no, not Ukraine. Those are our friends.
We have to be careful.
Come on, man.
On YouTube, because
that's true. I didn't even think about that. I'm so uncensored these days.
I know, that's good.
It is good. It's also marginally
it's like, how
unfortunate.
much do you want to placate? I did notice my story
true.
views went down yesterday once I started talking about being unvaccinated.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's that word. It's that word.
It is.
Whether it has the "un" in front of it or not.
I know, and that's another reason why I like having our own thing. But, every once in a while, I'm tempted to just sit down and just code our own app, code everything. Every once in a while, I'm like, this is going to take me at least a month, and I'm going to have to become a software engineer.
That's not a lot of time.
That's a lot of time for me. For me to work consistently on something for a month straight, oh boy, that is a lot of effort. Because when I work on something, I work on something.
That's true.
But I would have to become a software engineer. I would go in and okay, well, Apple's dev kit.
Well, you can use
go in and figure
chat.
it out. And I could probably team up with ChatGPT and code our own app. That's funny enough. That's probably true. That's probably true.
Dave and Chat are co-founders of
Second
Paradigm app.
Yeah.
I call it Chat because I can't remember the second letter. G, T, P or B.
It's P.
It's P.
It's P.
Other people were saying B again. I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Funny.
What is it?
It sounds similar, I guess.
Yeah.
We could actually talk about ChatGPT today if you wanted to.
Sure.
If you want to unpack it a bit. I mean, this feels like a bit of an intro. So when we were...
Well, you have to give context.
People
might not know what it is.
I'm going to kind of give context. So when this AI bot came out, everyone started posting videos. So you might have seen on YouTube recently, there's lots of things like how to make money with ChatGPT, like how to use the new AI chatbot software, ChatGPT. And there's videos from people like Jordan Peterson where he sits down and he's in an auditorium and he's like, all right, so from show of hands, who knows ChatGPT? And it's like, clap, 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 clap. It's basically nobody. And he's like, okay, so let's get into this. I wish I could do a better Jordan Peterson impression.
I know. But
it was very weak, very weak.
That's okay.
It's hard to give that much passion and also create my own thoughts. But anyway, so he's like, who knows ChatGPT? And basically no one knows. And he's like, okay, well, it's an artificially intelligent bot. It's a language learning model. I think that's what they call it. And basically what this thing has done is it's been programmed to, within its database to have, I asked it how many books, articles, and whatnot, and it said it's in the billions. So it has billions of books and articles and web pages from throughout the internet. So it knows all of Wikipedia. It has the IRS tax code. It has all of the classical books that are free that you can get, like Aesop's Fables and all of that stuff, Odysseus. It knows it, so it has all of this data. And then what it does is it predicts the next word that would be the most likely word that people would say in that circumstance, given what you're talking about. So if you ask about the IRS tax code, what's the most likely set of next words that you're looking for based on its billions of words and, whatnot?
Is it only in English?
I have no idea. I think it can translate. I think you can ask it, like, translate the sentence, and it will translate.
Mm-hmm.
So it might not only be in English. But here's the use, right? So that's kind of how it works. But the use is, so Jordan Peterson typed in, he was like, so I have a book called The 12 Rules, and I think it was familiar. I think it had read it. So he's like, write me a 13th rule for living in the voice of me, in the voice of Jordan Peterson, and make it a mix between the Sermon on the Mount and there was some other like old and the Tao Te Ching. And it just starts typing, and it's immediate, and it starts typing, and then it was done in like 5 seconds. And it wrote him another chapter, which, I mean, obviously every chapter probably took him weeks. He probably sat down, really thought this stuff through, but it wrote it out in like 5 seconds. And he was like, and the philosophy was good, and it was written well. And he's like, I couldn't have told you that I didn't write that.
That's crazy.
So that's crazy, right? That's absolutely crazy. So that's the use of this thing. So people are going on and they're saying, write me 100 headlines for this new energy drink product. And it goes, and it writes them all out. 10 seconds. Not even. Write me a blog post on the 5 health benefits of the ketogenic diet. Write me an outline for a blog post. Write me keywords for SEO. It's outputting basically anything you want. It's still a little bit stupid in some ways, but if you know how to use it, it's an unbelievable resource. The tax code stuff is interesting. The blog post stuff is interesting.
When I asked David to ask it a thing,
yeah,
we did the difference, or the difference between Podia and Mighty Networks.
Yeah, and
which was actually really good, and it was true because we've used both.
It was true, and it sounded
left
like
out
the
the
blog
glitches.
posts. Yes, it did leave out the glitches.
But yeah, it sounded good. I was like, oh, this would be good for the affiliate marketer people.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So where
it was
this
compelling, or it wasn't biased in one way or the other. It was just like
Yes.
clean distinctions between
Yes.
the two, which is nice because you can spend hours going through, which is what we did. I mean, you did more, but when we were looking into Mighty Networks, even.
You know what I saw one guy on YouTube do too was he copy and pasted an entire web page. It was like a sales page for some software he wanted to know. And he was like, summarize this. And then it just gives him a little 100-word summary so he didn't have to read it. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
I would have liked that in school.
Yeah. Yeah. So now, right, there's college professors who are talking about.
People are saying the kids have to write their papers in class now. They can't write their papers at home.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's now AI. There's like AI checkers to see if it's like, what's the likelihood that this was written with AI?
100%.
Yeah.
You just use your intuition.
Right. But if you
like Johnny's been writing dog shit papers for his whole life, and all of a sudden he comes in with this like, hey, chat, make a mediocre paper so I can at least get a B.
you can probably
I don't want to
like
I don't want to be too obvious.
Yeah.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Smith.
Write a paper with 5 to 6 errors.
Yeah. Maybe more.
But you could probably upload your own thing. Like, like here's my last paper. Write a paper at this skill level on this. You probably could, do stuff like that.
Wow.
So it's getting to the point where with AI, lots of professions are going to be obsoleted. The ones that surprised me were when I was playing with this thing was lawyers, accountants.
I mean, even LegalZoom is.
Yeah, even LegalZoom's getting there. They're already templated. But this is like you go on and you're like, hey, we have a partnership LLC based in here. What is the tax code, or what are the tax ramifications for this? And then it goes, well, you should really seek legal advice elsewhere. But I asked it, I was like, okay, so within your the tax code. And I was like, yeah, I've read the entire tax code, And it's like, okay, this is interesting. This is interesting because it's a starting place, and It's not perfect yet, and you can kind of back it into corners and it doesn't know what to say anymore.
Yeah, like with Ben Shapiro with the like, what is a woman and
Yeah, Ben
abortion,
Shapiro
and
was asking about it.
that was interesting.
That was interesting because it takes the consensus viewpoint of the internet, right? So
That chicks with dicks are women.
yes, and if you ask about health, it's going to come out with health, mainstream health. So there's some complications with it, and there's some things that are kind of scary from like a dystopian viewpoint. And I think there's lots of jobs, including ones that have been very high paid, that are just going to suddenly become non-existent, or those same jobs will be performed, but you'll just have to use something like ChatGPT,
Yeah.
because the quotas aren't going to be like write me 4 blog posts a month. It's going to be like write me 15 blog posts a day, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going to be able to.
Yep.
So they're just going to want you to have to check the quality and fact check this thing,
Yep.
and then edit and refine and make sure
Yep.
it's good, right?
We had it write a thing for Jonathan Light, and it was not good.
It was okay.
It wasn't.
It was okay.
It wasn't. It wasn't impressive at all.
Yeah, its energetic ability is mediocre.
It was lacking so
mediocre.
much zest.
Yes.
And if you've gone to this, what is it, the starseedsavior.com,
Starseedsavior.com or starseedsavior.com.
we bought
We own
both. Thank you, Amy. Oh, yes. Yeah, his bio is way better without ChatGPT.
Yeah, I might have left 1 or 2 lines that were originally crafted by chat. Yeah.
Funny.
So we're going to get into things at some point deeper. We're going to do a soul perspective podcast on it because it's worth talking about.
For sure.
There's going to be a B video on it because it's worth talking about. And there's going to be a doc about it because it's worth talking about. Because the direction that we're going to end up going with this, and I don't know how much we're actually going to end up unpacking right now, but the direction we're going to end up going with this is most professions can be obsoleted by this thing. Most information professions, which is a lot of them. Like think lawyers, accountants, anyone who's working in like SEO, blog posts, even programmers, like all the software engineers, like all these kids, right? We were talking about on our inner solidity call, all these kids are coming out of college and they're told like, well, just learn to code. But now this machine can code and it writes working code. Like all of these professions where these people have been sitting cushy at $200K a year, $300K a year, depending on the field and their skill level and how well they interview, how cleaned up their professional images and how connected they are on LinkedIn or whatever. All of these kids suddenly are in some degree of career uncertainty. And even things like there was a story of a Hollywood, he did VFX, he did the backgrounds for Hollywood movies, the backdrops. So all of that's VFX, but someone draws it. There's another bot called Dolly, DALL.E, I think.
Just like the clone of the sheep, just like Dolly Parton.
Oh, funny. That's interesting.
It's a whole rabbit hole, you know.
Yes. So now there's this Dolly AI and other ones. There's quite a few actually that do different things, but they'll do what he has spent the past 10 years trying to develop, this skill level to be able to produce high quality Hollywood level backgrounds for VFX. And it can produce a novel thing, brand new, 15 seconds. Right? Like he's looking at his career and going, I just spent the last decade of my life doing this thing, and now this machine can do it as good as I can. I can't really tell the difference. I can do it maybe a little bit better. But like how just demoralizing is that to be able to just be slightly better than this machine in 15 seconds, right? And it takes you maybe days and days and days and days and days. That's the place where we're starting to kind of get into for lots of fields. And you know, you go back and you hear like Andrew Yang in the last presidential election or a couple presidential elections ago talk about how the like self-driving semis.
Yeah, everyone thought he was nuts.
Yeah, he was like, the self-driving semis, they're going to wipe out truck drivers, and that's huge, and there's so many jobs. He's like, we have to start thinking about UBI. And everyone's like, you're crazy, this is silly. What we really need is more bread lines for black people in the ghetto. You know, like just like we're focused on this thing. We got to stop gun violence. We got to make sure that 2 years ago, in the 20s, 20 or 30 black men who were shot by police officers, we have to make sure that goes to zero while we politicize it and people think it's in the hundreds of thousands. Like we got to focus on these tiny little issues that are very emotionally charged that are going to get us votes. We're not going to talk about UBI. We're going to laugh you off stage. We're going to say you're crazy.
We're going to call you the wrong name.
Yes.
Remember, they didn't even call him. They called him like John Yang. They were fucking up his name. And,
yeah, probably on purpose.
And now he's a puppet for CNN.
And now he's on CNN. And, you know, maybe that was always a part of the plan, was just to kind of plant seeds for this thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, totally.
When I really zoom out, it's possible that Andrew Yang was just a plant the entire time.
And we freaking signed up to, we were like, we love Andrew Yang.
Oh, we did love Andrew Yang.
We were in Seattle.
We did.
God, we could have teetered. We could have gone full woke and put our pronouns in our bio.
100%. We were close. We were close.
Luckily,
because we cared about people.
Housing didn't work out. We couldn't find a place to live.
Yeah, that's true. We ended up not in Seattle.
Right, because we cared about people. I used to care about people.
Yeah, but like, so it used to be like that, right? And it's like, well, I'm not a truck driver. Like that'll suck, but they'll find something to do. And even the rebuttals during the presidential election was like, well, you know, teach them to code, and everyone was kind of laughing at that. They were like, you're going to teach truck drivers to code. That's your national solution. But we're starting to get to a place where it's not truck drivers anymore. It's like lawyers, accountants, and all of these internet professions, all these internet marketers, all these people. They're all starting to be obsoleted by this thing that can just pull from the body of wisdom or the body of knowledge of our world, that is the internet, and then output things in a very specialized manner and just write them in the style of writing that people write. So I mean, this thing speaks legalese, right? This thing speaks the doctor's weird language where they say dermis instead of skin, and then everyone thinks they're genius. This thing can speak in those languages.
That's always
because
your
it's
go-to.
Obvious. It is, because it's so silly to
Since
me.
I met him.
So silly.
Yeah,
because if
dermis.
it's one of my pet peeves. Because if doctors just said, your skin looks a little red, you'd be like, yeah, no shit, that's why I'm here. But they go, oh yeah, you got some irritation of the dermis, you know. You're going to need to use the hydroxychloroquine cream, you know. And you're like, oh wow, thank you so much. I'm so happy that my insurance paid you $150. And that I had my $20 copay. I'm so jazzed. I feel so much better about my red skin, you know. But they just translate it. You know, it's like saying it in a different language.
Yep.
But all they said was, "Oh, your skin's a little itchy. Looks like you got some red skin. For red skin, we use this cream from this pharmaceutical company that's full
paying
of a bunch
us
of
more
shit.
than the last one. Oh, we don't use that cream anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, this, what is it, hydrocortisone, whatever. I forget what the anti-itchy cream is what I used to call it as a kid. It'll just do the anti-itchy cream. It's got eczema because my microbiome's fucked up. So all I eat are these pot stickers from Costco.
That's the real shit they're not talking about.
Because I've had fish sticks 4 times this week. So now I need the anti-itchy cream for my arm.
Yeah.
But pet peeves about the medical profession aside, it's weird that we're getting to this place. So I think there's things for us to speak into, because I think the place that we're going to end up going with this.
The field here is so different, by the way, on YouTube.
On YouTube, yes, it is. It is. In a good way, in a bad way? What do you think?
Just in like I don't want to tell you. Like, that's kind of how I feel. I'm like, you don't get to know what I think.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's weird. That's kind of just how I feel. I feel more quiet than usual.
Yeah, I understand.
But anyway, keep going. Sorry.
The place that we're going to end up getting is intuition is quite literally going to be the only way forward. So I asked this thing, do you have any novel ideas? And it was like, well, it's highly debated in the artificial intelligence landscape whether or not AI can truly generate novel ideas. And I was like, okay, so that's a no. It's very clear this thing has no novel ideas.
Not if it's using predictive text to...
Yes, right? Because that's what it is. And once I understood what this thing actually was, I was like, oh, you're looking at everything ever written that you have access to, and you're outputting things like it, and basically you're doing a plagiarism check on yourself. So you're not gonna say things exactly the same. You're going to say things slightly differently, but there are no novel ideas here. There's nothing new. You're just outputting it in a slightly different way. So then I was like, is this plagiarism? And it was like, well, I am an AI, so I don't have intention, so I can't plagiarize. And I was like, that's a backward ass answer. And there was no way that wasn't pre-scripted. I was like, okay,
100%.
so this is their canned response. Because the more I think about it, the more I'm realizing that this AI is essentially just one big plagiarization machine. Plagiarization? That's not a word, is it? Plagiarization machine.
Plagiarizing?
Plagiarizing? Yeah, it's plagiarism machine. Thank you very much. Because all it's doing is looking at everything, copying it, and then outputting it.
Right.
The only trouble for the world right now, as it currently is that's essentially what all of us are.
100%.
We go through school and then to college to become specialized in a very specific form of knowledge that's already pre-existing, and our job is just to take it all in and then output it in a specialized manner. And most careers are like that. So from that perspective, this machine is doing what everyone's doing. It's just doing it faster, better, and it doesn't need food or rest. And it doesn't fatigue.
Did you ask it?
No, I didn't. I'm just assuming that this machine doesn't need to eat.
Well, it kind of did fatigue because call volumes were higher than normal.
That's true.
I had to keep resetting it last night when I was asking it to tell me jokes. It's not funny. And then it says jokes are subjective.
Yeah.
So not everyone may find these jokes funny. I was like, yeah, you're right. Good save there. These aren't funny at all.
Yeah. And those are the things that it's going to have trouble with, right? Is humor.
Yeah.
And is anything that's new. The thing is, as spiritual people, right, we talk about here at Second Paradigm all the time, how you are ahead. Talk about it all the time. And it's never been more obvious how ahead you actually are than with this whole conversation about AI. Because what you've done the past decade or so is you've left behind every possible career path that was highly lucrative but is about to be completely obsoleted. It's a big deal. You left a lot of money on the table to not do the things that are about to be obsoleted right now, where there's lots of people in deep panic because they see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Mene, mene, tekel parsin. That's what was written on the wall in Nebuchadnezzar's. And I think Daniel went in and he was like, that hand that materialized and wrote these words on your wall, it says your kingdom is about to fall and God hates you, basically. So people are seeing the writing on the wall that their careers are essentially over, that they're going to be completely obsoleted, and that they've just spent the past decade building a skill set that doesn't matter anymore. You, on the other hand, have spent the past decade saying no to all these things, even though they looked good, even though they would have been, in the short term, financially lucrative.
Yeah.
What you've done instead, and this is actually pretty remarkable when I really think about it, what you've done instead is develop the only thing that's going to matter in 10 years, which is novelty. You've developed the ability to tap into your intuition and to bring something truly novel and intelligent straight from divinity to the planet.
Yep.
I don't know 100% if this is true, but this is my current belief, and it may change because I haven't had it confirmed ideologically by the second paradigm, by B and all of it. But my belief right now is that the only true source of novelty is divinity.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
The only true source of novelty. Because I think outside of that, we essentially are like some of the atheist, secular, like Sam Harris's think we are. I think we are just input, output, input, output, input, output, and basically have no free will. I think we are that without a soul and without divinity. Yeah. Because there's nothing else that makes sense. The more I get familiar with how biology works, how our brains work, how our emotional systems work, it really does seem like everything that has shaped us outputs our decisions, except for soul. And I think soul and intuition and this thing that you've spent the past decade developing is the only true source of novelty, and novelty is about to be the only thing that still matters.
Yeah.
That's a really big deal. A really big deal.
Yeah.
So there's certainly more to talk about this. I do think we're going to do a full-blown podcast on it because it's a big issue, and it's going to become a progressively bigger issue as more people realize what this thing is.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's going to be a video or multiple videos from B on it, and I do think there's going to be a side quest doc on it, which we haven't released yet, obviously, any of our side quest docs, but there's going to be a channel doc on it too, because this is important to understand, because it's a physical and tangible experience we're all collectively having right now that validates this unusual journey that all of us have taken as spiritual people.
Mm-hmm.
It immediately validates it.
I know. I felt so jazzed about it. Again, it was cool. I haven't been that excited about a thing since 2020.
Yeah.
Like when 2020 hit and everyone was panicking and we were like, oh, peace, I'm down.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool. And it made sense why all the other years leading up to 2020 were all about rest and not like no manic action, like just let things, like let it all fall apart, like just keep trusting, keep going, keep trusting, and welcome home. That's when that saying even started, was back then. And then 2020 hit and it was like, oh yeah, we got this. Like, and then it feels the same way with chat. I'm just calling it chat.
Yeah, that's fine.
It feels the same way with chat. 'Cause I'm like, oh yeah. Like we're good. Like we actually have been prepared this whole time and continue to be prepared for what's to come. And people haven't. The majority of people have not, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely clear. I know, even like going into that like local grocery store, it's a health food grocery store. It's in a hoity-toity town nearby. Everyone's masked up. Everyone's got their Teslas. Everyone's buying their organic food. I've told this story before. The freaking lady was masked and gloved, and a thing rolled out of the fridge. And David had a moment of like giving it to her, like in Westworld when Dolores drops her can. Did you drop this, miss? He gives it to her to put back, and she won't touch it. She's got her gloves on. It's just like crazy, but it's like that's the caliber of people that this will impact the most. Those are the techie people. Those are the people that their jobs will be obsolete.
Yeah.
Suicide rates are going to freaking skyrocket. It's going to be nuts because these people, all they've been doing is programming AI. They've become little like nodes in this AI intelligence, just working for it, not actually working for God. Because if they were working for God, they wouldn't have said yes to all these things. They would have listened to their soul's calling long ago.
Yeah.
And they would have been uncomfortable, and they would have been poor, and their money would have gone to zero, and they would have not lived in the lavish house and not had all the things and not had the Tesla and not had there would have been more hardship. It would have been more real and more gritty, but they did everything they could to avoid that discomfort, which all that discomfort was doing was bringing them closer to God. And they said no. Mm-hmm. So when God calls, do you answer it? You don't have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, I have my phone on because we might have to move the cars for the snow. And I'm on the board now, bitches. And if I get towed as a board member, first of all, that's really not good. It's not good at all. But second of all, I want to go out there and help other people.
Yeah.
Because yesterday, I'm going off on a total side thing.
That's fine. Have we talked about this?
With each other.
We haven't talked about this. Wow. Okay. Yeah, we can get into it. It's nuts.
So yesterday was it yesterday? A couple days ago it snowed.
Yeah.
There was like 3 inches on the ground. The plow trucks came through. So the plows send a robocall out. And then that call notifies like this unit of houses, like the houses are in rows. So they get a phone call saying you have 30 minutes to move your car. So you have to move your car and then you move it back. Mm-hmm. If you don't move your car, you get towed. So then the plow people call the tow people. Okay. That's how it goes. I just learned that at the board meeting. Yep. I didn't have I was like, who's doing the calling? I was all like, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So that happens. So the other day, I am downstairs blending beef liver. So I'm dehydrating beef liver, which is going out today. So
we got some refills going out today.
Also, awesome.
Taboo tinctures are now out.
Yes. So I wish I had some up here to show you guys.
If you haven't seen, go to thesecondparadigm.com /shop or just secondparadigm.com And you'll see Miriam's new line of tinctures with black
Taboo.
walnut.
Taboo tinctures, which is perfectly named.
Oh, I love
because
it.
it's just a matter of
they're
time.
becoming progressively more and more taboo. Black walnut, mullein leaf, and sweet gumball.
Sweet gumball.
On the ground, sweet gumball all around.
There's a song. I was like,
Sweet
what? There's a
gumball
freaking
on
song.
the ground.
When you step on it, it hurts your foot.
Yeah.
It's like such a bad song. It sounds like I wrote it.
Ouch, ouch. I really don't like it. Like, what?
I
What are
know.
you
It's like,
saying?
oh, I never listened to the whole thing.
Uh-huh. So there's snow on the ground and they tow.
Okay,
And you
so
get-
I'm in the kitchen. I'm like having, I like get into the space with the beef liver. I'm like talking to God. I kind of talk out loud and like whisper and like. So I'm making the beef liver, blending it down. And I didn't know that I heard the plows, but I didn't think they were plowing the spots. I just thought they were doing the street because there was such little snow in between cars. So then I hear bing bong and I'm like, fuck. So I was like, okay. So I was like, oh, maybe it's mail. UPS. But it wasn't. So then
That's what our UPS guy does when he gets here. Because
Every
he's always
time.
at night. It's like 8 p.m. And then the truck rolls up and he goes, UPS. And then he goes and rings the doorbell. Just so people don't freak out about this random man walking.
well, yeah, and he has a headlamp too.
Yeah.
Okay. So the doorbell rings and there's this woman at the door and she's like, hi. She's like, your mom has the red car, right? I voted for you. It's like, wait, what? I like in a swirl. She's like, I'm Terry. She's like, they're going to tow your mom's car. And I was like, what? So then I was like, oh, okay. So I put on my slippers. So mind you, I'm wearing like pink sweatpants that have like a blanket inside. They're the best things from LL Bean. They're on sale right now. I 10 out of 10 recommend. They're so warm. So I have those on. I have my pink pants, my pink slippers, and my pink shirt. And I'm all different shades of pink. I'm like, oh my God. And I throw on a jacket. I run outside in my slippers and my mom's car is covered in snow. I wipe the whole thing off. And the plow guy's out there. And I was like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were plowing. And he's like, well, I did the robocall. And I was like, oh, I'm not in the system yet. I just gave them my phone number. And then whatever. So that was kind of a nothing. So then I move my mom's car out and then I run back inside. I get the keys to our car. I move our car because we're on the same strip. We're just in a visitor spot. So then I move our car. And then I'm like, okay. And then there's another car still sitting there. And I'm like, fuck, it's the people over here. So I'm like, and I never talked to them. If anything, I got into a fight with them at the laundromat when the washer and dryer weren't working and we had to use the laundromat when we first got here. Anyway, but that happened. So I don't really talk to them. They're not very friendly anyway. So their car's there and it's like covered in snow and I'm like, fuck. So then I message the woman that's also on the board with me and I was like, hey, they're towing cars. And she's like, no, I don't think they are. And I was like, no, they are. There's 2 trucks that just went by, a flatbed tow truck and then a hooky one that you just like and pull it. And she comes out. So now we're both outside and I was like, they're going to tow this car. Like, that's not right. Like, I rang the doorbell. I went over there. Nobody's home. So then she's like, okay, well, I'll grab my shovel. And I said, okay. So I ran in, grabbed our shovel. She grabbed her shovel. And we both went outside. I'm still in my slippers. My feet are soaked. And I start shoveling. We both start shoveling the car out. And then the plow guys, we kind of like pleaded with him to not tow this car. I was like, these people aren't even home. I was like, this isn't right. And then he's like, oh, that's fine. I already got 2 of them anyway. Which flagged because it's like, oh, is there like a quota? Like, what is this? What do you mean you got 2 of them?
Yeah, it sounds like he has a commission-based system.
Yeah, they're in
with
cahoots
the tow
for
guy.
sure. For sure.
Bit of a conflict of interest there.
So that wasn't okay. But aside from that, so then they don't tow that car, right? And then they send the little Bobcat guy over and the guy's like fucking, he's toothless and he's listening to an audiobook on full blast. It's like, and then they went into the woods. And he's in the Bobcat. It's just like, it's such a weird sight. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I told the guy, I was like, hey, they're not home. I knocked. I rang the doorbell. Nobody answered. I was like, please don't tow them. And he's like, oh, no, that's fine. And he's like, and then he starts maneuvering the Bobcat all around their car. He's like, you guys don't have to shovel. Don't worry about it. So he was a little more kind. So then, like 45 minutes go by or something.
Yeah.
And then my mom sees the neighbors out the window. And so I run out and I'm like, excuse me. I was like, I just want to let you guys know they were going to tow your car. I was like, Sue and I, we tried shoveling it out. And then I was like, but whatever. And she's like, oh my gosh, are you sure? Like, do I need to move it? And I was like, no, no, no. She's like, we were at church.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this is so not a good look. If the board had towed their car and they were at church, I would have encouraged them to sue. I would have encouraged them to sue us. Like, actually. They wouldn't have had a fucking leg to stand on, the board, because they're all about towing and fining people. They're so okay with it, which doesn't build community. And I brought it up and I cried my eyes out in the fucking board meeting and blah, blah, fuckity blah. But they're monsters.
Yeah, the lack of care is wild, but the fact that they were at church, I almost liked it. I almost liked
it was
that that's
great.
how it went down, because the last board meeting, you're right, the entire time. We already kind of talked about this in our last live, I think. Or did we talk about it? We actually talked about it during our, of course, we're taking live teaching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we haven't talked about
we
it
haven't
publicly.
talked about it publicly. But we talked about it a little bit. But it's like this entire first board meeting, Miriam's in there and she's reading the energy and she's saying all the things that she has to say. And one of the things that you were guided to say was, I just don't think we should be telling people. It's just not right. And it's cool that that was one of the primary messages that you had to share, right in that very first board meeting. And days later.
Yeah, not even.
Here
like
they are.
2 days later.
Here they are towing.
Yep.
2 people get towed.
Yep.
For 3 inches of snow, which is crazy. There's no notice before you get this call. So it's one call and then 2 people got towed because they weren't around or they didn't get the call.
Like, who knows? Like, what if you're out of town? I mean, the church is a great example. But what if, a lot of people live here. Well, I don't actually know people's setups, but I imagine there's single people that live in these condos, or a couple or something, and they take one car and their other car just stays.
Of course.
Like, that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Like, it's so crazy. Like, I
Or
cannot.
you go to the grocery store, right? So there's lots of things that take more than half an hour.
Yeah.
Lots of things. And if you don't have any notice beforehand, it's just crazy that you have, on a random day that it snows, you got half an hour. And if you aren't there or you can't get there, you're going to be towed because the tow company is incentivized or, is in cahoots with the plow guys.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
So it's cool that that was the message that you got to pull through in that. And then right afterwards, it's not just that people got towed, but someone almost got towed. And the only reason why they didn't get towed was because 2 of the new board members came out and shoveled them themselves.
2 women came out with shovels, which was not a good look.
No.
Not a good look at all.
And they were at church. I loved that. I loved
know.
the way that it played out because there's like a heartfelt TV style story there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I told her, I said, well, God was looking out for you. I said, I'm on the board now. And she said, woohoo. And she like loved it. And I said, I'm on the board now and the board sucks. I was like, I hope I can make changes that help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she said, thank you so much. She was really appreciative, which is cool because now what that does is it builds trust.
Yeah.
Like forever. That's a relationship that's there and solid, and she'll know that I'll have her back because she even said we need people that talk or speak on the behalf of the residents or something like that, or that have our backs, or however she worded it. I was like, I know, because that's the thing that's lacking is there's no care for the actual people.
Yeah.
And that's like what I feel like I'm speaking on behalf of when I push back. And then my fellow counterparts, they didn't say anything, at least not yet. So I'll just keep speaking and being uncomfortable and crying. And I think the crying is good. I talked about this in our course worth taking. The self-study course is still open if people want to join. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So if you're feeling the ping to hop in there and just be in the energy and be in these conversations, I highly recommend it. Yep. It's super affordable. It's like a no-brainer is kind of how it feels to me. But I talk in depth about this whole thing.
Yep.
But there was something else, speaking on behalf of the people. Oh, the crying. Just like it brings humanity back into the conversation. And if I have to look like the weak one or something, I'm totally fine to play. I know that I'm playing a role on behalf of God. I deeply know that, and I'll do whatever it takes. It doesn't matter how I appear to others.
Yeah.
It's that part's irrelevant. But changes actually need to be made. And we were even talking to the woman across the street. And, we don't plan to be here forever. I even said, I was like, yeah, I just want to get the ball rolling and I don't expect to even see a community garden here. I would love that. But I'm talking to like a brick wall. Like these people are so set in their ways. Like they're old. Like they're actually old. Their energy's old and stanky. They've been here for a long time. Like they don't want change. There was no warm welcome. There was no like, oh my gosh, we'd love to hear your ideas. None of that. Like everything is like very much, this is the way it is and this is the way it has to be. And we are a little tyrannical mini government.
Yes, and here's the reason why we can't take care of people. Here's the reason why we hate all of the residents. Here's the reason why we make moves constantly to find them or to pressure them into doing what we want.
But you know what's so weird too is there's such a contradiction because I kind of not want to say, I kind of don't want to say their names, but the woman sitting across from me who gave me a hard time last winter about moving my mom's car too early. You have to move it only in that 30-minute window. You can't move it too early and you can't move it too late. Otherwise you get towed. She did tell me, she said, she's like, you know, if people have trouble and they come to us, if they're having trouble paying their condo fees, like we'll work with them. If they're behind, like if they stay current and then add an additional like $20 or $30 on top of it, like we'll work with people, you know, like things happen. So that was interesting, right? Because like that's like, oh, that makes sense. That's cool. That's normal. Like that's not a BFD. There's fucking plenty of money sitting in the bank that y'all just fucking sit there and don't spend to
and pretend it doesn't exist.
Make upgrades.
So
I know
odd.
it's so weird. So there's this like element of like being willing to work with people. But then the flip side of it is they have no problem towing and fining. But the people that are calling is the plow company. You know, it's like, so then when it's pushed directly on them, they'll work with you financially, right? When you go to them. But if you go to them and you say, oh my God, I got towed. Like, what the heck? They're, oh, that's the plow company. That's not up to us. So like when they have this like layer of separation intentionally, so they cannot have compassion for people. I don't even lead with compassion. This is crazy that compassion is at the forefront of this whole thing.
Yeah.
But it just seems like such bullshit. It's like, how can you work with them on their condo fee, but you have no problem towing the shit out of them? It's, because we're not doing the towing. It's the plow company.
Yeah.
It's bananas, because if it was them that had to call, because if Judy was the one calling the tow company, I'm sure she would fight more on behalf of the residents. But since there's that layer of separation, they have no problem being tyrannical because they can offload the responsibility. When I can't wait to say that at the next meeting.
Yeah, it's good.
I know all these things keep
through this whole thing.
dropping in. Yeah, I'm so down to say whatever. Like, it's like the tears, the anger, the shaky voice, however it comes out, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it just needs to be said and it needs to rattle.
Yeah.
Because it's so stagnant and it's not okay. And they're going to look back on me in 10 years or whoever, I hope me, and be like, oh, she was onto something with that community garden. Or like, oh, she was onto something there. Oh, I wish we passed that. But they won't. And I don't care, because we're going to double up on our patio garden and we're going to grow even more crops. And we'll probably do we'll do 2 summer shares. And we'll just keep going and keep preserving, and I'll keep canning, and I would do it anyway. But like, I thought it would be nice to expand the experience.
Yeah. And I think that's where this goes is, I know it doesn't always feel like this as intuitive people, that we're so fucking far ahead and literally set for the rest of our lives, but it's just the reality. That's where we are.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point and you realize that you're literally set for the rest of your life, because there's nothing catastrophic that's going to happen to you that you aren't going to be unusually capable of navigating through your intuition compared to everyone else. So it's like, if global catastrophe happens, if the financial market crashes and goes to zero, everyone's fucked equally. Yeah. Everyone across the board. But you are slightly less fucked because you have this adaptive real-time connection that navigates you through uncertain circumstances with remarkable precision. We've all seen it in our own lives before. So, yeah, I mean, it's like intuition sets us up so unbelievably well for all of this uncertainty.
Yeah, it's so perfect.
And I think it gets to a point where you start to realize that because you are set and safe for the rest of your life, the only thing that's left is to help, is to do what we came here to do, right? Like that's the truth of it. And it makes so much sense. like that. It's the only thing left. It's like, okay, I can sit and be good literally for the rest of my life. I'll feel things. I'll experience life, but it's going to be kind of boring.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating getting to when we're at like the far edges of our work and we're talking about eternal peace and we're walking people through this process. It gets to the point where your life's work is a choice. It's a choice. It's not the same thing as our evolutionary edge. Divinity's trying to get us to a point where we have freedom, and it's this relentless feeling, and sometimes it feels like it's out of fucking control, and like, just when is this going to end? And it always feels like that. But it gets to a point where you realize that you've never really been in danger. There's really nothing wrong. We're completely set for the rest of our lives. And then divinity goes, hey, oh, it looks like you're free. Okay, cool. That's awesome. So there's this intelligence that was crafted before you came here. And it's the reason why you initially came here. If you want to do that, I'll give it to you. If not, yeah, don't worry about it. You're good for the rest of your life. You can do whatever you want. I just wanted you to be free enough to make decisions for yourself, because bodies in 2023 aren't free.
Yeah.
Bodies are, like Sam Harris sees them, as complete, it's complete lack of free will, input, output. Decisions are based on past experience. Decisions are based on your community and your parents and your biological makeup and your chemical landscape at any given point. And it's all determined basically before you were even born. Just baby at this time in this family, in this community, with these worldviews, with this surrounded, with this teacher, with this that's the output. That's the decision they make. That's basically what we are without divinity.
Yep.
But divinity is liberating us through this process, and it gets to the point where divinity goes, okay, so now that you're free, you have the ability to make your own decisions. Do you want to do your life's work? You want to like help here? Do you want to bring an intelligence crafted by divinity, or do you want to chill? Because you're good for the rest of your life regardless. You have this intuitive ability. You have the ability to make decisions. You have the ability to navigate uncertainty better than basically everyone. It's like, I've liberated you for free. It's like divinity's like, I've liberated you not so you'll come work for me. This wasn't like this wasn't a big recruitment scheme. I've just liberated you because I'm God and that's what I do. Because this wasn't right.
Yep.
But now that you're free, if you wanna come work for me and bring this divine intelligence to Earth, you can. You don't have to. Here's kind of some of the details. Here's what that looks like. It's wild.
Here's the job description.
Yeah, here's the job description. It's by the way, it's the thing that you've been longing to do the entirety of your entire life. So I know it's tempting to just say yes, but think it through. It's wild because it doesn't make sense and doesn't compute. And I think our neighbor, who's also on the board, one of the new members, we were talking to her, and she was surprised that we were leaving, and I think it didn't compute to her why you would want to help and not reap the benefits of it. Like, why do you want to get involved unless you're going to live here for the next 10, 15 years? It doesn't make sense. Why do you care? And it's like, because it's just the right thing to do. And I can feel that there's an element of what I'm here to do on this planet that's directly tied to this.
Yeah.
There's a win-win in it. And you can always feel that in divinity. You can always feel like that's what that guidance is doing.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, you guys would move? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, in a heartbeat.
I'm like, I want chickens and a milk cow. Like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Like, y'all are fucking lost your gourd. The fact that you're so pro tennis court and anti community garden tells me all I need to know.
Yeah.
And you better believe I made my shikimic acid tea, star anise and white pine.
Yeah.
I drank 32 ounces there and 32 ounces when I got home.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I'm not fucking around with those spike proteins. Sweet gumball is also a great source of, I can't say it.
Shikimic acid. Shikimic?
Shikimic.
Pretty sure. Shikimic? Shikimic or shikimic? Shikimic.
Shikimate.
Shikamates. Or I don't think it's shikamates. Shikimate.
Shikimate.
Yep.
Shikamates. I don't know.
That's what everyone was recommending, to drink pine tea. It's the shikamates.
Yeah. Anytime I'm around people like that, I load up.
Yes.
And then I was told, don't worry, Miriam, if you get sick, if you get COVID, you can just phone in. I was like, You got to test in order to have it, and I don't test, so that's not what I said. But can you imagine? It's a little too bold for meeting number one. Got to ease into it.
That's funny.
I already rattled the apple cart when I suggested that we not tow and fine people. That was already blasphemous. So
Yeah. Yeah, this was good.
yeah, YouTube's totally different feel. I don't really
It is
like
very
it.
different.
It's okay,
Agreed.
but it's not. I don't know. It's not really doing it for me.
Yeah. Well, let's switch over to Members Plus, and we'll.
In Mighty Networks.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it again in Mighty Networks, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna post an unlisted YouTube live in there. So
Okay.
We'll try to go live, and then if it's glitchy, then we'll go dark for a few minutes, and I'll set it up so we can
Send
still do our
another
Members
link.
Plus live.
Okay, cool.
We're gonna get it all sorted. It's just shitty technology from a company with a good idea and mediocre execution.
Define Mighty Networks.
A company with a great idea and mediocre execution with very few alternatives. Would you
Okay.
like to learn to code? Suggestions. Learn to code?
We need help. Okay, cool. I have to pee.
All right, cool. We will see you in a bit. See you in Members Plus in the
Bye,
community.
guys.
Bye.